Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
It's our TOEIC unit for the month of December, and we're going to be talking about something called pet insurance. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't. Before we started to research this article for today's lesson, I had not heard of pet insurance. None of my pets when I was growing up were insured, but I guess nowadays people have this option. You can buy insurance for your pets.
I guess you can. When I was growing up, that wasn't a possibility either. But nowadays, people are spending thousands and thousands of dollars on these, very complicated operations and surgery that they offer to the animals. In my family, you had your pet gets old, and then your pet dies. But here and other places, I know in the U.S., in New York City, it's very popular to, take your pet in for these very complicated operations only to have your pet die a couple of weeks later. So be careful that you don't get scammed out there, guys. Be careful. That's my one warning. But there is pet insurance available now.
And Austin is going to find this out by talking to Bella in today's lesson. So let's listen to their conversation. Austin's new dog needs help. Let's listen. Ever since I adopted my dog a few months ago, the expenditures have been piling up. Unlike us, pets don't have access to health insurance.
Wait, you mean you haven't taken out pet insurance for your dog?
Pet insurance? I've never even heard of it.
Well, it's a coverage plan designed for pets. I recently insured my cat after realizing the potential healthcare costs. It gives me peace of mind.
Really? That sounds quite helpful considering my current situation. How does it work?
As with all kinds of insurance, you pay a monthly premium, and the insurance covers certain veterinary expenses, such as emergencies, surgeries, and even medications. However, there might be exceptions, and not all conditions are covered. So always read the policy thoroughly.
This sounds like it might be a worthwhile investment. How did you find an appropriate plan for your cat?
I spent quite some time researching online, comparing policies, premiums, and reading reviews before settling on a plan that was both affordable and comprehensive. If you want, I can email you some of the resources I found.
I'd appreciate that. I need to look into this further. It sounds like it could really lighten my financial burden.
No problem at all. I'll send it right over. By purchasing pet insurance, you can enjoy your time with your pet without worrying about unexpected expenses.
Okay, everybody, are you ready? It's time for us to discuss the contents of today's lesson. It's Unit 2. And the title is Austin's New Dog Needs Help. Now, here, Austin is a person's name. It's not referring to the city of Austin, Texas, or Austin, Minnesota. It's referring to a guy by the name of Austin. He's got a new dog, and he needs help with it. And he's talking to Bella, and she's going to give him some advice.
These are names that I have in my own family. I've got a nephew. His name is Austin. And I have, I think she's my second cousin. Her name is Bella. Bella's kind of a new popular name because of Disney. So there you go. But those are cute names if you don't have an English name right now that you like. Austin for a guy and Bella for a girl. Or Belle. I also know someone whose name is Belle. So those are cute. Now, why does Austin's dog need help? Well, Austin has just adopted a dog. He said, I adopted my dog a few months ago, but ever since then, the expenditures have been piling up. An expenditure is something that you've spent. We usually use this word in business to talk about our costs or expenditures, and you want to cut those if you want to save money. But here, he's admitting that adopting his dog has cost him a pretty penny. A pretty penny just means a lot of money. If you adopt something, usually we use it to talk about adopting a child, where you legally take a child into your home and raise it as if that child is your own child. But you can also adopt a dog or a cat. So unfortunately, he's had to put out some cold, hard cash for his dog. What's been going on?
Well, his expenditures have been piling up. His expenses, you could also say, have been piling up. And he adopted a dog. Don't confuse that word with adapted. That means kind of to make some adjustments in something like, I had difficulty adapting to life in Japan, so I went back home. But in this particular case, we're talking about him bringing a dog into his family, into his home. But these things are not cheap. Expenditures pile up. You need to buy food. You need to pay for veterinary expenses and things like that. And unlike us, pets don't have access to health insurance. Insurance, of course, is when you buy a policy from an insurance company, and if something happens to you, they will give you some money. They make money by having more people pay for their policies than they do paying out. Hopefully, not everybody needs to have lots of payouts.
Unless there's a big natural disaster like in Florida, where everybody, lost their homes or part of their homes, and then that insurance company ends up having to pay out a lot of money. But yeah, the whole idea is that you pay a certain amount, usually monthly, bi-yearly, maybe twice a year or once a year, depending on your policy. You pay it in case you get into some trouble spot, maybe a natural disaster, or maybe your house burns down because you were cooking in your kitchen and you weren't careful. Then that insurance company can pay you money to replace whatever you lost. But yeah, I wanted to mention, just so you guys know, we don't talk about an insurance contract. It's always a policy. That's just the words we've chosen. So you want to talk about an insurance policy, and in a minute we're going to talk about a premium, but not yet. So Bella says, wait, you mean you haven't taken out pet insurance for your dog? We'll often use that verb phrase there, to take out an insurance policy. Just means you go to an insurance company and you talk to them about how much you want to have covered. There are different amounts, of course, but the more they cover you, the higher the premium will be. We'll talk about that.
And Austin is confused by this. Pet insurance? I've never even heard of it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have not heard of pet insurance. This is something you could say when somebody introduces you to a topic that you're not familiar with. Oh, I've never heard of that, or I didn't even know there was such a thing. And Bella says, well, it's a coverage plan designed for pets. I recently insured my cat after realizing the potential healthcare costs. It gives me peace of mind. So here we're using a term that is often used in insurance, coverage. And that just refers to how many things the insurance policy is going to pay for if you have problems for things. And that's something you need to find out. What's the coverage? Does it cover this? Does it cover that? What's the coverage?
Well, that applies to health insurance as well. Maybe you have a new smartphone and you go to a telephone company. You want to know what the coverage is. I mean, do you offer free internet access just in Taiwan, or only in Taipei but not in the South? Coverage just means how much they're willing to give you or to provide to you. Here, as Tom said, it's an amount of the amount of coverage that they're willing to offer you. Maybe they will pay for, let's say, an accident for your pet, but they won't pay for an expensive surgery. It just depends on what kind of policy you want to pay for. She said, I recently insured my cat after realizing the potential health care costs. It gives me peace of mind. If something gives you peace of mind, it helps you relax and not worry about something in the future.
Right. Cats can have health problems, so it might be a good idea to have insurance for your cat or for your dog. I'm not so sure about your rat or your pet cockroach or something like that. I don't think people would want to have coverage for those types of pets.
No.
But she did buy some insurance for her cat because she realized, there might be some health care costs down the line. As cats get older, they start to have more and more problems, and therefore she can relax. She has peace of mind. She doesn't need to to worry about this. And Austin says, really? That sounds quite helpful considering my current situation. How does it work? So indeed, the idea of getting insurance for your pet does sound quite helpful. It can be beneficial to you. And he says that's beneficial or helpful for his current situation because he just adopted a dog. And of course, it's getting more and more expensive to take care of that dog. And now he wants to know how the insurance policy works.
Yeah, so Bella explains that, as with all kinds of insurance, you pay a monthly premium. So here he would get a bill every month called a premium that would tell him how much he needs to submit or pay to his insurance company to keep his policy up to date. You don't want to let your policy expire or not pay in case you have some sort of accident. If you haven't paid your premiums lately, they will not cover you. So a premium is just the amount that you're actually going to pay each month or each year or twice a year. It depends on your policy, how much you're going to pay into that insurance company, and it covers certain veterinary expenses. Veterinary is just the adjective that is applied to anything having to do with vets or veterinarians, doctors that take care of animals. And there are vets who only deal with smaller, pets like dogs and cats. And then there are other vets that go out to farms and deal with pigs and horses and cattle, things like that. So this would help cover some of the expenses that Austin has to pay because his dog needs some health care. She says, however, it says, there might be exceptions and not all conditions are covered. So always read the policy thoroughly. Thoroughly just means completely. You don't skip anything. You make sure everything is covered, whatever you're talking about. If you're interviewing for a job, you might want to check out that company thoroughly before you accept a position if they offer it to you. Here, she says you better read that policy thoroughly.
Yeah, thorough just means you're complete. You pay attention to every detail. And of course, ly makes it an adverb. You need to read it thoroughly. So yes, indeed, you need to check it out. And Austin is learning more and more. He says, this sounds like it might be a worthwhile investment. How did you find an appropriate plan for your cat? So he's getting more and more interested in this idea. But of course, if you want to find insurance for something, you need to do some research. So he wants to know how she found a suitable or appropriate plan for her pet cat.
So she gives us some good tips here. If you're doing some research on insurance, maybe for yourself or your car or your pet or your home, there are lots of ways to insure things that you own or that you take care of. She spent a lot of time online, which is really what everyone does nowadays. You research online and you compare policies. So you look at policies from different companies and look at the coverage and how much the premiums cost, and then make a decision based on that. It's also important to read reviews. Some of these reviews are fake, though, so make sure you're reading real reviews. Talk to your friends as well. And before you do that, you want to learn as much as you can before settling on a plan. If you settle for something, it means you decide to do that particular thing. You make a decision which plan or policy you want to check into further. So she wanted something that was both affordable and comprehensive. If something's comprehensive, it covers pretty much everything. We often talk about how, what's your health care like? Well, it's comprehensive. It includes dental and eye care as well, glasses, comprehensive. So it covers everything. If it's affordable, it means you have enough money to pay for it. So it's hard to get both of those things, though, because if something's comprehensive, it's usually quite expensive.
But so she did a lot of research. She compared policies. She looked at different premiums. She read the reviews. And finally, she settled on a plan that was both affordable and comprehensive. So it was within her budget, and it also covered enough of the expenses that she imagined having with that pet cat. And then she goes on to say, if you want, I can email you some of the resources I found. So she's offering to give him some information because she did do some research, and she is willing to share some of that information with him, and he can use that information to find out if getting pet insurance is right for him.
Yeah, I would take advantage of that if I were Austin because, it does take a significant amount of time to do these things online, to research. And as long as she still has that stuff she found, hey, send it on over. She can save, or he can save some time that way. So he's going to email, or Belle is going to email some of the resources that she found to him. Austin said, I'd appreciate that. I would appreciate that. We use would because it hasn't happened yet, guys. I'd appreciate that. I would appreciate that. I need to look into this further, just a little bit more. It sounds like it could really lighten my financial burden. So if something is lightened, it just becomes less heavy, less worrisome. It doesn't give you so much anxiety. We'll often say, I think there was a song I used to sing. It was something like, lighten your load. If you lighten your load, you make someone's cares less worrisome so that they don't stress out over things. So, yeah, it could help lighten his financial burden. Your financial burden just includes all the bills you have to pay just to, have a daily existence, I guess.
Yes, indeed. It can be expensive to have a pet. You not only have to buy pet supplies and food and things like that, but also the pet might get sick and you need to go see the vet or the veterinarian, and those things can cost money, and that's why you need to consider getting pet insurance. So yes, he thinks that this could really lighten his financial burden. He won't have to spend so much money. And Bella says, no problem at all. I will send you the information by email. I'm only happy to do this for you. I'll send it right over to you. By purchasing pet insurance, you can enjoy your time with your pet without worrying about unexpected expenses. Okay, so of course, when you buy something, you purchase something. So by purchasing pet insurance, if you purchase pet insurance, then you can enjoy your time with your pet and you don't need to worry about various things involved with the pet. And I guess I could bring an example here. My sister loves animals, and she's had various pets over the years. She also volunteers at a pet shelter, and some of these pets require operations or things like that, and those things cost money. So it might be wise to consider getting pet insurance.
Yeah, so he adopted his dog a few months ago. We're not sure how old the dog is, but if it's a puppy, that dog will likely live, 15, 16, 17 years. Ours lived until he was 18 with pretty good health until the very, very end. And then the doctor didn't recommend any surgery. He said, you should let him go. When they get older, it just hurts them if you try to keep holding on to them.
And you took him out like Old Yeller and he got shot at the end. No, of course, nowadays pets get to put down. That's what we say by veterinarians when they're just too old to go on. And indeed, Bella has given Austin some advice here, and Austin seems interested in accepting this offer, or at least doing some research himself, and he's going to consider insuring his pet dog that he just adopted. I think that might be a good idea nowadays, but again, in the past, I had never heard of that before, but I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, well, I've seen some of the bills from some of these vets, and they're quite expensive. So if you plan on having your pet for a while, or you adopt a breed that requires constant attention, and there are dogs like that out there, be warned, you might want to invest in pet insurance. Right now, we're going to listen to our Chinese teacher, and then we'll be back.
听众朋友大家好，我是安娜。我们又到了多益的单元。多益单元常常都会跟一些生活的情况很有关系。例如我们这个月要谈谈保险，不过保险不是讲人的保险啦，是讲宠物的保险。 什么宠物也有保险吗？有其实只要有需求的话有任何的保险都可以跟保险公司来谈一个方案。那现在因为养狗的人也很多然后就是会需要保险嘛。不过比较特别就是说，反正狗跟人不一样，狗是没有健保，猫也没有健保，但是人才会有健保。所以今天的对话主角Austin 跟 Bella 他们就是针对养狗的这个保险来谈。因为 Austin 一开始就说啦，自从他几个月前领养了一只狗之后支出就越来越多。那因为没有保险的关系，就变成很多钱付出来，累积起来还真不少在第一个 Austin 这个地方特别注意领养这个动词adopt A-D-O-P-T 这个 adopt 不管是领养小孩、领养狗，或者是还有采取、接纳，也就是 take 的那个语义，都可以用 adopt。 当然跟它长得很像的动词也有很多啦，例如 adapt A-D-A-P-T 则有调整适应， adapt A-D-E-P-T 则是形容词，又有精通的意思好，这些字变可以特别把它写在旁边。不过我们在这边要在第一个 Justin 的第一句后面expenditure 这个地方这个字把它抓出来，这个叫做支出。我们等一下还会看到另外一个支出，也就是费用，会出现在第三个 Bella 这个地方。第三个 Bella 的第一句也是后面的地方，叫做 expense E-X-P-E-N-S-E。 那这两个都是支出，可是不太相同第三个 Bella 讲的 expense 支出是一笔一笔的费用。那如果都是花在狗狗身上，哇，这整笔的好多的费用，总的来说再往上提一层，就是长期的所谓的支出 expenditure。 好，所以它是有一点不同的了那接着呢， Bella 当然就是会跟 Austin 来提供一个宠物保险，因为他自己就有买嘛。那我们知道保险叫做 insurance， 我们的健保叫做 health insurance， 宠物保险直接在 insurance 前面加 PET pet insurance。好，如果对方跟你提一个人事物，以前从来都没有听过，那第二个 Austin 这个地方就有提到一个很好用的，平常我们说什么我从来没听过never heard of that never heard of it， 把它大声读出来，说熟了之后，以后跟别人对话就会很流畅。那接下来我们就看到 Bella 她就要这个讲一下他自己有买的保险这个所谓的宠物保险其实就是一个保险计划。在第二个 Bella 这边注意 coverage 这个字，因为 cover 本来是覆盖，那 coverage 指的就是保险计划到底你什么东西有保这个内容，所以整个叫做一个 coverage plan。 但是 Bella它这里的第一句有一个简化的关系子句，就是后面的 design for pets 可以左右挂号起来关带的 which 或者是 that 跟 be 动词的 is 省略掉了。而且我们在第二个 Bella 的第二句也有看到保险的动词叫做 insure I-N-S-U-R-E insure someone，帮某人买保险的意思。好，所以 Austin 他就觉得说考虑到他自己目前情况的话，好像真的应该要买个保险在第三个 Austin 我们来看一下，这里所谓目前的情况叫做 current situation， 然后我们看到目前大概就是 now， 有一点会忘记 current 这个字my current situation，考虑到我现在的情况。不过到底这个保险是什么样的一个情况呢？ How does it work？ 那 Bella 就跟他介绍啦，其实所有的保险种类都是一样，你大概就是每个月要不然就是年缴吧，就是会有一些保费。第三个 Bella 的第一句有出现一个保费注意这个 premium 这个字在这里指的是保费。那如果是每个月月缴，就可以在前面加上 month， 月加 ly 会让它变成形容词，每个月缴一次的。当然就会 cover， 又出现这个动词啦，会 cover 涵盖掉一些expenses， 逗点前面我们刚刚说的一笔一笔的费用，不管可能是手术紧急情况还有一些其他的药物等等，但是并不是所有的情况都在里面。第三个 Bella 里面我们看到第二句有一个 condition， 把它抓出来，这个 condition 呢就指的是狗狗会发生的所有意外的产生的这种情况，叫做 condition。 当然它也可以指的是一种健康情况啦，如果我们会说人，例如说阿公生病你阿公现在状况怎么样How is his condition？ 这也可以指健康情况。 好，那最后呢，我们还是要在这一句看到 policy。policy 我们一般会背是政策的意思，可是在这里指的是保单条款哦 policy。因为在这个保险业当中的英文啊，它的用词跟我们一般的认知会稍微有一点差别，这边要特别注意。好，接着 Austin 给他的回应呢，当然就是觉得还不错，因为固定缴个保费嘛，万一有一些医疗状况啊，或者是生病啦，其实保险都可以 cover。不过他就很好奇 Bella 到底是怎么样找到一个合适计划呢？那 Bella 接下来在第4个 Bella 就特别回答 Austin， 因为他自己也做了很多的研究，如果需要保险的话，还是要货比三家啦。像各种保单、各种保费，重点是还要读一些网络的评论。第4个 Bella 第一句在逗点这个地方有一个 review， 注意哦，网络的所有东西的评论都会用 review 这个字。那一定要找经济实惠啊，而且要非常的全面，因为其实对于保险这个人员来说啊，他们都会告诉你，其实保费不一定每项都很高，但是该保的都要保。那这个所谓的全面，该保的都要保，就出现在我们刚刚说第4个 Bella 第一句最后一个字的 comprehensive。 所以在这边我们说 comprehensive 好像是阅读理解，但是在保单当中它指的是全面，该保都要保到的意思。好，那 Austin 看起来跟 Bella 应该是蛮好的朋友，可是在这里的回应呢，感觉蛮正式的，因为我们看到第5个 Austin 第一句的 appreciate 这个字啊，其实还蛮正式，就是它是比 thank 还要更正式一点的感谢，而且注意哦 appreciate 后面都只能感谢事情啦，如果你要谢谢人就会说 thank someone for something， 所以我们会说 I appreciate it， I really appreciate that， 哦，真的很感谢，就是现在得到这很重要的资讯啊，好像这个社交距离也拉开了一些。好，那么接下来呢，我们在明天的课文当中就会带大家看一个宠物保单。以上就是我们今天的内容，我是安娜，我们明天见。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to our lesson, everybody. We're going to talk about some useful expressions that involve seeking clarification, which means making something clearer for you because you don't quite understand it, so you're asking people to give you details. Can you explain further? I don't quite understand. Can you clarify what you just said? You might hear this in school or something. The professor may say something that's very difficult to understand. Sir or madam, could you please clarify? I don't quite understand what you mean by that. And yes, indeed, this happened in the conversation because Austin was asking Bella for some clarification.
Right. So the first one is I didn't quite catch that. A lot of times you'll hear some English or someone will say something to you and you didn't quite hear it very clearly. Or maybe you didn't understand it. So you could always ask them, could you repeat what you said about something in particular here about the meeting schedule? Could you say that again? Or did I hear you correctly when you said, and then try to repeat what you think you heard? Everyone has problems hearing things sometimes. It might not be because you don't have good enough English. It may be that the person speaking isn't speaking very clearly either. So don't ever be afraid or embarrassed to ask for clarification.
Right, of course, nobody wants to look stupid, but sometimes we do need to get the information right, and you shouldn't feel ashamed by asking someone to clarify.
No.
Here's something else you can use in this particular situation. Point number 2, can you elaborate more on the project details you were discussing earlier? So to elaborate just means to talk more about something, to offer more details.
Right. Or could you shed more light on something? That's a phrase we'll hear sometimes. So number 3, so just to clarify what you said before, here you take that phrase and then you try to repeat what you think you heard. And then if you misheard something or you didn't quite get it right, that's their opportunity, the person that you're talking to, it's their opportunity to then clarify what they said or to further shed light on something or to make something really plain. So never be afraid to ask for help. Discussion question, if you were to adopt a pet, would you invest in pet insurance? Explain your answer. We don't have much time, so what would you say, Tom?
I'm not really sure, but probably not. I had pets in the past and we never had insurance then, but you never know. Maybe veterinarians are charging more and more these days, so it might be a good idea to have pet insurance. What do you think?
It depends on the pet. I don't have a pet, so I don't have to worry about it. I would love a dog, but my apartment is too small. But if you are thinking about getting a dog or cat, maybe check into the breed, see how healthy they are. And if you might need insurance, then go ahead and get it.
Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll continue talking about pet insurance in our next program. We'll see you then. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.